Well, officials are threatening to close one of Toronto's biggest city parks if people don't respect physical distancing rules. Huge crowds gathered at Trinity Bellwoods Park yesterday. Many of the thousands in attendance seemed too close to be safe, and Laura McQuillan is on the story for us and joins us now. So what happened, Laura?
Well, a lot of Torontonians this morning, John, waking up seeing those photos from Trinity Bellwoods Park yesterday, not happy about what their neighbours have been up to. Take a look at some of the images we're seeing. Thousands of people turning out to Trinity Bellwoods. It's a big park in Toronto, very popular in summer. As you can see there, a lot of groups, certainly many of them numbering more than 5, which is the current restriction on gathering sizes in Ontario. We know that police and enforcement officers were there, but as for what they were doing, we're waiting on those details. I spoke to police this morning and they said that they were reminding people about physical distancing, but they weren't enforcing that because they only had 6 officers there despite the thousands of people who were there. Now, we're waiting to get an update from police on why they only had 6 officers when this is a pandemic and there are bylaws and provincial orders in place. Beautiful day yesterday, John. You saw the sun out there, but Ontario is seeing an uptick in its number of COVID-19 cases. So all of this is coming as a real concern to those infectious disease experts, those emergency room doctors dealing with COVID-19 every day. Here's what one of them told us.
I think the issue is who's there, how are they physically distancing, and who are these people in groups? Are these families that are just having a nice picnic? My suspicion is probably not, and that might be part of the problem. We can look at Toronto as an area that's really been hit lately, and it's not to blame on long-term care anymore. This is a community spread thing.
And John, it takes about 10 days to 2 weeks to see, an infection trickle through into those confirmed COVID-19 numbers. Currently, the bump that we're seeing in new cases has come from that Mother's Day weekend. Since then, it's been Victoria Day, and experts like Dr. Carr, who you just heard from, are worried that in another 10 to 14 days from now, there could be another big bump from that behaviour yesterday.
Yeah, this as the economy is really just starting up with physical distancing in the retail sector, etc. So let's talk about the response from officials.
There is real worry from Toronto officials about what they saw yesterday. We've got a statement from the city which we can show you, and it's saying that gatherings like this where people aren't keeping their distance run the risk of setting the city back significantly in its efforts to stop COVID-19. Now, they say there will be extra police, extra enforcement officers at Trinity Bellwoods Park today. It is blue skies right now, John, but it's set to get cloudy and potentially rainy a bit later on, so they might not need to do that much enforcement. But in the meantime, just reinforcing what the messages are and what the rules are. Right now, gatherings in Ontario are restricted to 5 people at a maximum. In Toronto, if you're in a park, you have to stay 2 metres away from people who aren't from within your household, and there are fines if you breach either of those rules. And of course, experts saying that you should be wearing a mask if you can't stay 2 metres away from others in an area like what we saw yesterday, John. A lot of worries about that behaviour and what it might mean for COVID-19 in Toronto.
Thanks for this, Laura. Meanwhile, a Toronto infectious disease expert took to Twitter to share his dismay at those scenes from that crowded park. Dr. Abdushakarwi's message was emotional, also practical. He says he doesn't want people gathering in Trinity Bellwoods Park to become his patients down the line.
Today is Eid, which is kind of like Christmas Day for me. And I'm not at home. I'm not with my kids. I'm not celebrating this with them. I'm here in the hospital looking after sick patients with COVID-19. And I see pictures of people in groups of 10 who are tanning and who are having a great time, not worrying about distancing or anything else that they should be thinking about when they think about having COVID-19 or putting other people at risk. And I'm really hurt when I see that. I'm really saddened when I see that, because I wonder if those people know the sacrifices that people like myself, my colleagues in the emergency room and the ICU are making to allow you to have the freedom to spend your day out in the sun in parks